In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at a warmer pattern that we're going to find ourselves in. The long range guidance, however, does suggest that we are going to move back into a much more fall-like and cooler pattern by the end of the month. So we're going to be discussing these things as well as improvement with some of the precipitation situations in the central and eastern United States. I say some because some areas will not, but some will. We're going to be discussing these things. Before we really dive into it, we did just upload our official snowfall forecast for 2025 to 2026 that you can check out on the top right corner of your screen. Also, our updated second winter forecast was out very recently. I can't put two up there, otherwise I would. Go check it out on the channel. It was uploaded, I think, 3 or 4 days ago now, so you can check that out today as well. Let's just take a look here at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service, and you can see coast-to-coast warmth is really what's expected. And when we see patterns like this, I think the more important thing is where is it the warmest, and clearly that's situated over the central eastern states, we'll call it central, and then kind of interior eastern states, all in the heart of that warmth. So we're leaning cooler along the west compared to the east here. Clearly, the East Coast not quite as warm. We've been dealing with some backdoor type cool air coming down the coast. So that is the overall pattern here from the 18th through the 22nd. And as of now, the National Weather Service does not have this changing for the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. The 20th through the 26th also looks quite warm in similar areas. I mean, coast to coast here really, but when we look at the warmest, it is situated over very similar locations. I think this could change at some point after the 20th, and we're going to show you model guidance today that does suggest that as well compared to this outlook that we're looking at here. Let's look at the past 14 days. So this is going to be your final day of August and then all 13 of our days of September so far. And we could tell it has primarily been warmer over the west, which has brought in a much more positive PNA type pattern and forced some cooler air into the central and eastern United States overall. Just really cool compared to normal and much more October-like. It's been very beautiful. It is important to note that we really glided through late August into early September in this cooler than normal pattern. And now we find ourselves in middle to late September, finding ourselves returning to average, if not above average. But what we're finding out is that all of our averages have kind of gone down 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees over the past 3 to 4 weeks that it's been mostly cooler. So normal to above normal is very different than what we were dealing with prior to this cooler pattern. So I think that's also worth noting, that the averages are aiding us in keeping things a little cooler, even if it is technically above normal. And that effect is only going to obviously get stronger as we reach further into October, November, December. That's going to really play a large role in the temperatures overall. Now, looking at the storminess over the next 2 weeks, we could see that there is still a little bit of a drier pattern in a lot of the east that's going on up until early to mid next week. It's worth noting that these areas stay pretty stormy. Areas in the Rockies and central states here stay pretty stormy again over the weekend. Now, as we reach towards Monday, Tuesday, we're going to get a similar system, maybe a little heavier than the one that we saw last week, where it is just going to be dreary along the southeast and mid-Atlantic coastlines. Some rainfall occurring, cooler temperatures as opposed to the more inland counterparts. It is just going to be pretty dreary at times. Monday here on the 15th, we could see a lot of precipitation along South Carolina, North Carolina there. As we advance towards Tuesday, we see a lot of Virginia and even approaching southern Maryland there getting involved. Still the Carolinas as well. Again, central states really flourishing as far as precipitation throughout the upcoming pattern for the most part. Wednesday during the day, we see again South Carolina, North Carolina, now West Virginia, and even parts of Maryland and Delaware starting to see again that dreary weather and cooler conditions compared to the inland areas. These red lines try to kind of guide us as to who is seeing similar temperatures, and we can see this is all over the place. But what's interesting is we could tell it troughs quite a bit down to these dreary areas where they are seeing cooler conditions likely than areas like Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, where they have a lot more of a southern push moving in. So that dreary weather is pulling down a lot of cooler conditions down the coast for midweek. Thursday here on the 18th, that storm system is still around, much lighter, maybe a mist, just kind of constantly coming down, cloudy conditions for this mid-Atlantic area overall. We do, by this point, see quite a bit of showery activity for, again, the northern plains and upper Midwest areas. We do have a low here east of the Hudson Bay. It's trying to get a cold front going. We do see a bit of ridging happening out west. It's going to be interesting to see if this can fully pull down some cooler air or not. What we see happening overall is we start to get a secondary low trying to form here. Again, it's something that doesn't fully occur. There is a little bit of a warm front, cool front type feature happening here with this low. So warmer air now moving up the more coastal areas, and those more inland areas now seeing cooler, drier air behind that mini cold front that is trying to form along this system. And that's again by Saturday the 20th. As we keep going, that whole frontal boundary kind of passes and reaches the eastern seaboard. This is for early that next week, so this is the 22nd. And we do see a lot of showers happening here along the southeast and mid-Atlantic, as well as some of the Ohio Valley. And overall, your jet stream is a bit of a trough in the east here. We'll look at the temperature anomalies in a little bit. But again, the 20th is an interesting date. I certainly think there's a chance that obviously it just kind of glides past the 20th and we see similar conditions. But it is an opportunity for changes, I think, is the way that I see it. And the models have kind of continued to suggest that day after day after day. As we get going towards midweek that week, we can see that a lot of this precipitation does eventually advance more towards the northern mid-Atlantic and into the northeast. Some of the areas that really, really need this precipitation, so this would be excellent news. Of course, this is coming after hours 240, which does make it technically the long range. So you're going to want to take that with a grain of salt, but we will be watching for opportunities up there, as that is a big topic, in my opinion, that needs to be covered, because you guys have been just dry up there. So I'm hoping for some precipitation for you guys. We can see a tropical system way offshore of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. The models love to show stuff like this in the very, very long range. We'll consider this a possibility that the tropics start to get more up, kind of like active, but definitely take it with a grain of salt, that feature. As we kind of move past that point, we do move more toward the quieter pattern again, where the central states are seeing more of the precipitation. We do get this kind of flow that is pretty interesting and kind of problematic for the tropics. We definitely see this flow from east to west, heading towards the southeast and towards the Gulf, which will bring precipitation, much needed precipitation by this point, to the deep south and southeast, but it will bring with it the threat of tropical activity as all of this energy just kind of flows in. Let's take a look here at the total precipitation, and we can see quite large amounts for the central states. Again, they're going to be doing quite well, and very improved amounts for parts of the Carolinas, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. So let's take a look at these anomalies. And again, very dry for the deep south and southeast still, but we have started to see massive improvements in the outlook for areas along the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Some of the areas that have been the driest recently compared to normal, they certainly need this, and this would be excellent news. Now, as we take a look at that temperature pattern, again, we are going to overall warm up. And you guys might take note of something. We get a lot of frames that look like this, where there is clearly a pretty massive cool down that has taken place along the west, and that is pulling in a more negative PNA effect. You guys hear me say this all the time. And we overall end up warming in the eastern and central states as a whole because of this. If it were the opposite and we had warmer temperatures along the west, it would most likely be the opposite effect here taking place across the central and eastern states. As we keep going, we start to see a warm pattern take place along the west, 17th, 18th, 19th, leading up to the 20th. And we see this Arctic air get pulled back into the central and eastern states by the 21st, 22nd on this model. And we relatively stay cooler in the east all the way through the 28th, which is the end of the model run here. Take it with a grain of salt. Let me see. The 22nd is technically within 10 days, but we'll consider it right around the 10-day mark, which makes it theoretically the long range. We're going to want to watch this, but it is not a sure thing at this point. Again, The 20th is a huge date, I think, for potential changes or potential not changes. We're going to have to see. And as we get closer, that picture will get a lot clearer. For now, that was the European model. Let's see what the GFS model says and see if it agrees. We overall get that cooler pattern out west trying to take hold. But by the time we reach the 20th, 22nd, 23rd here, we do see cooler air kind of in the picture for the east all the way until the end of this model run as well by the 29th. The only thing, this is at the very end, so again, the confidence isn't super high or anything, but we start to cool down along the west there on those final couple of days of the model run, and this would likely, in that event, warm up the central and eastern states. But it's important to note that, again, that's the long range, very long range, and there's a lot of time for things like this to change, and probably specific details like this are very likely to look different at the very least. Now, with all that being said, be sure to subscribe because we upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.